So let's give some context. So the conference is happening over 3 days. So each day has separate, different focus. So the first day is going to be about civil society, and one of the conversations that are going to be had on tomorrow will be, the gathering of African and young leaders, the African diaspora and all of that. The U.S. said it wanted to use that opportunity to firstly highlight the number of people of African descent that are spread across the U.S. They are in the millions, you understand, and the level of contribution that they can make to their country. So it's the African diaspora is one thing, but it's also young people. So the young people and the African diaspora combined, it is that forum that's going to be held on tomorrow.
Is it African diaspora and young people from Africa, or the young people of Africa who are in the diaspora?
So it's the African and Young Leadership Forum. So yeah, young people from Africa. That's what they're talking about. So President Weah was chosen, like you said, one of few African leaders that was chosen, and that is quite significant. Significant in that there are about a number of them gathering here, but we should state that there are different side events that will be happening. So some of those leaders are going to be the different gatherings, but President Weah was chosen specifically for that because of the level of inspiration we figure that he gives to young people around the world. You know his story. I will, can only imagine that the planners of this gathering thought that that's going to serve as quite an inspiration to young people coming. It shows that there are boundless opportunities for youth of all categories, all races, anywhere you are, that you can be whatever you want to be. You can reach the top of your career, of your aspiration. You can dream big and then achieve it if you're willing to work hard and commit to it like President Weah did. So I'm sure he's going to be inspiring these young people tomorrow. So that is one aspect of the 3 days gathering that's going to be happening.
So
it's quite cool, by the way.
First speaker tomorrow?
Yeah, the president is going to be the first speaker. I've traveled with the president all around, Titi. Selecting the president to be the first speaker tomorrow event where a lot of young people, thousands of young people from all around Africa will be. They speak volume, they speak of the kind of personality we have as the president of our country. President Weah is not only attracted to young people from Liberia, President Weah is attracted to young people from all around the world. I can recall
Why are young people so attracted to His Excellency?
Well, I can recall in Egypt, when the Secretary of State of the United States of America was in Egypt, he made mention similar thing to George Weah, who's the president of the country.
What did he say?
He said, President, a lot of young people see you as the conduit, to perseverance, given the history of you coming from the dungeon of poverty to the zenith of playing football to your political career, speak of the kind of inspiration you bring to the young people. Quite recently, I was in Qatar with the president, and the emir of Qatar made mention of similar things to the president. He said, yes, I'm the emir of Qatar. But it's not only, I don't want to speak to other young people because I'm 40 years old plus, but I see you as an inspiration. So basically, President Weah is that center of attraction, that is bringing a whole lot of new dimension into politics, and the global stage is set for him tomorrow, like Wakai said, the Minister Wakai Fufana said. Yes, tomorrow the president has been selected, over 50 plus African leaders to speak and address the event tomorrow. I think Liberia and Baku should celebrate the fact that their president is recognized as one African leader and he's being placed at that high pedestal.
Obviously, and seen as an inspiration to young people. Smith Tobe has just joined us. Smith, I heard Waka talk about Waka and Fiku talk about, how inspirational it will be for young people to, listen to His Excellency, speak to them tomorrow. But also, we have the Diaspora Summit talking about it. It's intertwined with that. What is the specific reason why people in the diaspora are going to listen to leaders of Africa tomorrow? Is there any specific reason why?
Well, again, let me say thanks to the setup here and thanks to the team. I think the message tomorrow all coming from the leaders of the world, especially those from Africa, will speak volume, owing to the fact that they will be coming to the United States. This is where the body politics of the global society seem to be running. And to have us come here and see them assemble to discuss continental issue will be very key. And it's going to drive the focus of a generation. See the cream of leaders in the sub-region. We are not talking about leaders in the 70s alone. These are leaders who have grown up from different communities. They are all young leaders leading continental Africa. The war currently carries a lot of young people. President Weah is a living example of youth from a nowhere community in our typical Liberian way to reach the height of the presidency of the country. So every time a forum like this organized, it is opportune to speak, it comes with that motivation. And that's how the leaders of the world see our president. Sid was making reference to his interaction with the president in some of the countries. President Macron, as a kid, when he saw President Weah, is a motivational person. So every time they see him, they know the story. When I went with the president to see Prince Albert II in Monaco, he was a little boy. When President Weah was just launching his career on the playing pitch in Europe, they used him as an example to reach the respective zenith. So to come here and extend an invitation to him by the President of the United States, where he will be speaking on tomorrow, if he had the opportunity to say to President Weah, he's a storyteller. His life is an entire book that somebody can rewrite and make a movie of. He tells people his upbringing, his challenges in life, how he managed to break through to reach where he is as a president, knowing what have come his way. So that's what criticism of President Weah seemed to be a normal thing for the president, because every step along the way of the president's life, what was given him was criticism. But did he get deterred? No. He was never deterred. So to hear him speak to a group of young people who are also aspiring for leadership in the future is a boost for our president. And I think that tomorrow he's listening a very strong message into the global society. The world right now is run by young people. There are a lot of young people out there who are with the vision of wanting to be where President Weah is.
I couldn't agree with you more. And again, you were talking about, what the leaders of Africa are also going to be saying to those who are in the diaspora concerning, them leaving Africa, coming to the diaspora, living better life and, aspiring for all the good things. So what is it they want them to do now that they're in the diaspora to help them?
I was reading a couple of days ago, and I heard the head of the AFDB Bank, the African Development Bank. He was talking about the level of contribution that Africans in the diaspora spend back home. And that amount of money trumps official development assistance. Now, that is quite significant, because official development assistance comes in the form of assistance through bilateral relationship or multilateral relationship. That is what many African countries have traditionally sort of looked to, in addition to raising their own domestic revenues. But now he was talking about how significant it is that the remittances that people in America and other places send back to the continent, that number was 3 times more than what is officially sent home. So you can tell how important the African diaspora is, but also the level of talents and skills that your team here, can be put to useful possibilities back home. Doctors, engineers, lawyers, and what have you. So we need to create the right environment for them. We as leaders, the leaders of Africa generally, we need to create the right environment. We're not create environment that tend to run your people away, and that's going to be one of the focal points of the conference, because they're going to be talking about peace and security, because in some other places on the continent we know that leaders try to extend their term in office. That creates instability. or some of the times there can be extremism, crisis of extremism in other places like the Sahel and what have you. So we need to create the right conditions that will attract our people. I'm sure that's what they're going to be talking about.
So how many days we here for the summit?
Basically, I think it's a 3
days.
Yeah, three
So President Weah
days.
addresses that forum tomorrow. What else does he do? What else?
Well,
does
today
he
the
do?
president, there is President Macky Sall, who's the chairman of AU, will be speaking event today. President George Weah has also been extended invitation to attend that event by President Macky Sall, who's the chairman of the AU. Even the close relationship between the both presidents. President Weah is one of the new presidents that have been extended invitation to attend that event today. I know this is just the build up to what is happening. There are a lot that will be explained to you via the press secretary, the minister of information, and other people here. But basically, people back home need to know that President Weah is that symbol of hope. That not only Liberians see President Weah as that symbol, but the world see President Weah as the symbol. Since President Weah, out of his travel, it has been demonstrated that he is the symbol of hope. We know that. Look, I know people in Liberia, there will be people with different opinions. There will be people that will say their own thing. But generally, the world is watching President Weah, the CDC government. They know what has been put into place. They know the democratic credential that this government has upheld since President Weah was elected as the president. Up to today, 5 years into African leadership, you don't have a political prisoner. The man decriminalized free speech. Anybody can just say anything about George Weah, the CDC government. You walk in the street with nobody harassing you. So that's the kind of
why he is, a symbol of peace. That's why when he goes to these kinds of forums,
he's
people
always
want him to kind of speak
people
to people.
always want him
we're
to
told
talk.
that 5 African countries, the leaders have not even been,
Invited.
invited to this forum.
Yes.
So it brings to mind the level of which we've succeeded under President Weah. See the region, for example, and he's been one of the stabilizers in the region. That is why when there are situations in the sub-region, President Weah is always being called upon. He peers in the region, knows his ability very well, his peaceful conduct, and that is something that no one can take away from President Weah. No matter where you sit in your nature, he's been regarded, as a man of peace. So even in the difficulties of the world, situation affecting the world globally, President Weah is very peaceful. So he goes to these forums, knowing his upbringing and knowing his contribution to the global society. Besides President Weah ascending to the presidency, places he worked, he was either peace ambassador, he was working with children, he's been that motivational person. So
I think it's collective that see him as that person. That's why they call upon him every time.
It's of no deception, and he's been regarded for that. People see him as a storyteller, they see him as a man whose life has transformed into a lot of people in the world. And speaking tomorrow will be a platform for the president. The world looks up to President Weah in a very positive way. And
We're
coming
here
here,
for 3 days, right?
Yeah.
3 days.
3 days.
After tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, what other
So-
forums are taking place?
So the forum is divided into, like you said, 3 days, 3 different thematic areas. The first one we just talked about that. The next day we'll be talking about, it's going to be the business forum. That's where the Commerce Secretary of the U.S. will be, but also we have our own Commerce Minister here, plus business leaders, innovators, and all of them are going to be here. There's going to be, it's going to serve as a catalyst for deal making as well. Because there's going to be a lot of people touting different opportunities that they have in their countries and all of that. And we're going to be here to sell the opportunities available in Liberia too. And then on the last day is going to be the Leaders Forum. So those are the separate things. But we also, I figure Liberia, this is quite significant generally. Firstly, it highlights America and Africa priorities. They're going to be focusing on the shared priorities. the priorities in the area of peace and security, climate change, energy sector. But first and foremost, the U.S. will be focused on democracy and human rights. And Liberia has got a really good record, outstanding record in that direction. And I figure that's one of the things I'm going to be focusing on at this conference. America and Liberia have a really special relationship.
Yes.
By the way, President Biden and President Weah were chairing the same team at the Just Ended World Cup. So not a lot of people took notice of that. So that shows the level of cooperation and solidarity between
obviously,
the two countries and two
share the
leaders.
same team with President Weah. When President Weah's son has to go for President Biden's team. So, but again, before we're going to wrap up now, because we have to go, I think Waka.
Yeah, I'm shivering.
I see Waka shivering. I see the guy people behind the camera. As a you behind the camera, he's shivering.
He's begging for further.
I see.
So my last point, my last question, and that's how we're going to wrap it up. Is His Excellency going to meet with Liberians here?
Of course. Whenever the president travels, it is part of the requirement of the president visits. And wherever he goes, when there are Liberians, he meet those Liberians. He talked to them about back home. Some of them, over the period of time, they've been convinced. Some of them moved back home. Some of them are here doing well, especially in terms of business, what they are doing. Like Mr. Waka said, the issue of remittance, sending money back home, creating businesses for their people back home. There are a lot of things that have been happening back home, especially. So, of course, President Weah is going to be meeting those Liberians in the diaspora, specifically in the United States of America. I received call that people flew from Australia, from Canada, everywhere to come and see the president of the country. So of course, President Weah will be meeting those Liberians and say to them, yes, we're on the right path. Yeah, I always say.
All those ministers who are here, I've seen the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Sports.
Yeah, so you see, that's the uniqueness of the president. And again, those who are on this travel with the president are here for specific reasons. We're talking young people. Yes, you expect to deal with the president, the Minister of Sports, and it's going to be making sure that that aspect of the young people and how we relate and can buy into some of the conversation coming out of the conversation on tomorrow with the president. We'll be knocking on doors to see how Liberia youthful population can also benefit from such a gathering.
Obviously,
we know very well that there is a specific issue around security, and it is not possible to come to the United States without knocking the doors of those items about security corridor. So you want to understand our Minister of National Defense is also here. Yeah. That's very important for regional security, for stability of the global society. You know, Waka talk about commerce, and she's going to be playing a very pivotal role in part of the conversation here in Washington, D.C. She's going to run through several corridors because the commerce of the war has come to a challenging moment. Liberia is of no exception. So to reopen some of those corridors is for us to get engaged. So the Minister of Commerce will get involved as of Wednesday, moving forward.
Making sure.
Yes, I understand. She's also a part of the team. Health-wise, where we all sit, we'll be running COVID tests again here to make sure that we are very clear on those issues. So it's a lot on a very small technical crack team along with the president.
But I just let it.
Yes. So let me just
go ahead.
And to also include the Minister of Foreign Affairs, you are aware that he's our foreign face, and coming along to President means a lot. Those diplomatic conversations will continue. The President will set the stage, and we expect all of the other ministers to follow suit and make sure that we can bring the benefit of our visit here in Washington, D.C.
Waka?
No, I was going to say, I just wanted to pick up from where Kalasco's talked about the level of support that the President enjoys, and the number of people that are going to be coming here to show their support. People like to think, when they think of George Weah, the President of Liberia, they think he attracts support from just a small segment of people. And some of the times they can joke or accuse his supporters falsely of being bused to particular venues and what have you. Well, in the United States of America, that doesn't happen. So people have to use their own physical cash to transport themselves from the various states to come along, to come and support him. You saw that happen in New York when he attended the General Assembly. There were hundreds of people in Europe, and then those amount of people also going to be coming here to show their support. We don't see that a lot from the other political leaders. I mean, there's political job, because we see them come, we don't see that level of support. But then they claim to have their base here. So then, whose base is it actually when we don't see a level of support? We only see that of the president.
Weah is global icon.
Yeah,
you can't bring him here anybody.
Exactly.
He's the distance between President Weah and other people in Liberia, especially within the political dispensation,
It's deep and wide.
is very deep and wide.
And finally, I think what the guys are trying to do is copy and paste what President Weah does. Yeah. So if President Weah wears a sneakers today with a pro suit, next meeting, one person somewhere will be
Obviously, Smith,
doing
if
that.
you're,
So
if you're not important, people don't copy after you.
So they are copying and pasting exactly what
But we can assure you that we'll keep you updated as long as we're on this.
Tell us how often. Tell them how often we're going to do this.
We won't keep you updated.
Okay. At some point we're
Thank
going
you
to
so much for joining us on this
Our
live.
Lavi and Wakai.
Thank you so much.
so let's say thanks to our crew. Not the Royal Navy, but the crew.
Thank you, Sekou. Thank you, Waka. Thank you, Smith. And to the crew behind the camera, thank you so much. Join us again when we are back. Thank you.
Where are you hiding for?